Hello? Hello? Everything all right? Did you want something? Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to come in and say thank you. Hiya. Have you seen Asha? She's not been answering her phone. Yeah, neither's Roy, apparently. Roy hasn't got a phone. She's probably just in lessons. Which reminds me, I should probably put mine somewhere safe. Look, can I just explain? My dad said something about a rhubarb puff.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 183 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that whether you like him or whether you hate him, you've got to admit that Hashim is the kind of guy who gets things done when things means homeless stew and done means well done. I'm Gavin.
And that's awful. Is this going to be the new crushed rana thing? Baked stew? Or cooked stew?
Just, yeah.
Broiled
roasted,
stew?
Yeah.
Grilled stew?
Pan-fried. And garlic butter with some parmesan.
Stew is kind of an unfortunate name for him now, isn't it?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. At least now there's a reason for his cough.
Is there?
Smoke inhalation.
Well, now. Was this a preemptive cough? Was this a predictive cough?
Who knows?
I'm getting into lost territory here. Which quite happily coincides with my Invisible Billy series that I've inexplicably started on Twitter.
How are you?
I'm okay. I've had a very stressful week at work.
You have. You actually went back to work into the office for 2 days this week.
Yeah.
And it stressed me out, so I can't imagine how it made you feel.
It was, you know, there was certain things about it that was nice. Mm-hmm. Like at this time of year, when I drive to work, my commute to work basically is 10 miles pretty much due north.
Right.
And then 10 miles due east.
Right.
So when I do the turn from north to east on the I-96, at the time that I'm travelling to work, the sun's just rising, and it's quite pretty.
Yes.
And I forgot about that.
Yes.
So that was quite nice.
Aw.
But my first day back on Monday, when I woke up, I was like, what time do I need to get up at to get into work? I couldn't remember. Is 6:30 too early? Is 7 o'clock way too late? If I want to get into work for 8 o'clock. So my first day I was like 10-15 minutes early because I had misjudged how long I spend in the shower and how long it takes me to drive to work. But
it was nice because you got to sit and have a cup of coffee with me before you left.
I had a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then rushed out the door.
Yeah.
I didn't do that on Friday when I was back.
So I drank far too much coffee yesterday.
You had the whole pot to yourself.
I had the whole pot to myself.
But it's kind of, there's little bits of it that are strange. Like you have to walk about with your mask on. If you're in a meeting room, you have to have your mask on. Some people just keep their masks on all day.
Now you know how the kids feel.
And then we're still doing video conferencing. So I'm in this situation where there's 5 people on this call.
They're all in the building.
4 people, 4 of them are sitting diagonally across from me, and next to me, and one of them's at home.
Right.
So I'm hearing all the people that are in the office, like at least 2 times. I'm hearing them speak. I'm hearing them through my headphones, and then I'm hearing them through other people's headphones coming back to me. So it's not without its challenges, but
yeah. And then you have to have your temperature taken every day.
Yeah, they've just got this thing set up at the entrance that automatically takes it, and if you've got a fever, it makes a funny noise. There's nobody standing there taking your temperature.
It beeps at you.
Yeah, apparently. But
and then you have to fill in an app.
Yeah.
Saying, my temperature is fine.
No, saying, have you had a fever? Have you been in contact with people who have had COVID? Have you been travelling domestically or internationally? Questions like that. And if you answer, you just know everything, it gives you a green light. You just show your security when you go, and this is fascinating stuff, I'm sure. But,
our neighbours all have COVID again.
Excellent. Wee Gavin
texted wee Stelly, and I had I freaked out there for a second because I forgot I was looking at Stelly's phone and not my own phone,
Right.
and thought it was you texting me that you
Oh,
had
see,
COVID. And I'm like, when did you get tested for COVID?
When you told me, I thought you thought that I was texting Stella to tell her that I had
No.
COVID. I was like, why would I tell her before I told you?
I thought you were texting me.
No.
And then like,
No, I
oh, wait,
wasn't
no.
involved in any of this.
No, this is Stelly's phone now. I know this because the screen is smashed to bits.
Yeah, she had it for how long?
Less than a week. Less than a week.
Could have predicted that. I don't think she'll lose it, but I think she'll break it again.
I hope not. I hope that Owen Wilson case gets here soon.
Well, here's a phone case, Stella.
Wow. It does actually, there's like a voice bubble next to his mouth that says wow.
I'll tell you the funniest thing about going back to work, though, is when you remember late in the day that your phone case has your face on it. Because I've got the Talk of the Street phone case.
Right.
That's their banner from Twitter and
Right.
YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what's on my phone case. And I don't see it and I don't remember it because I'm looking at the front of the
Right,
phone.
yeah.
But as I'm holding it up, there's people that I'm speaking to that can, why is Gavin's face on Gavin's phone?
Well, when you hold it up, your hand is covering your face.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, it was weird for me too. The dog was very depressed when you left. Both days. You know, typically he'll come around and whine, you know. Even if you're in the house, he'll come up to me and whine and talk and want pats. The 2 days you were gone, he just laid on the couch and did not move the whole day.
Oh,
Just
my
looked
poor doggy
so
dog.
depressed. That dog was so depressed the whole time. And I think Black and White is depressed that Nick moved out again.
Oh.
Because he's been kind of moping too, the poor cat. He's like, where's my big, warm human
Lump.
that I lay on all day?
Right.
Why is he gone? So I've had to deal with depressed animals all week.
Yeah, the dog from the other side of the house hears me stand up and put my shoes on. And then he gets very excited because that's time for him
He
to go in.
tears across the house, barking and wagging his tail. It's like, oh good, Mr. Gavin's leaving the office.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Fun and games.
Yes.
Shall we preamble, my dear? We have a
Yep.
busy day today, don't we?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that domesticated Corrie news. I'll hit the right button first time this time.
Woohoo! A few weeks ago, we expressed guns on Corrie fatigue, especially in the wake of the death of cinematographer Helene Hutchins on the set of Rust. This week, Nicola Thorpe, formerly of Coronation Street, revealed that she was once on a set where an actor lost an eye due to an accidental discharge of a gun.
Oh, wow.
She did not reveal which set, but hopefully it gives pause to any new gun stories on the street to remember that there are actors who know where the bodies are buried.
Yeesh.
Because
Literally.
one would imagine, I mean, she was on the show for quite some time.
Yeah, no file.
Yeah. Anyway, stop putting guns in storylines. Please.
So, this is what confuses me about the Alec Baldwin story and others of that ilk.
Yeah.
Are they real guns? I always thought they would just be like, they would be manufactured guns made to look like a real gun. I don't think anyone would bring a live real gun onto a set.
The argument is that they use real guns because you can't imitate the heft of a real gun. And
Much like a cup of coffee.
Right, yeah. And see, that's the thing. There are so many other things that, are pretend and don't have the heft that they would in real life that I don't think anybody would really care and notice and have the movie ruined for them because of the heft of a gun. I mean, the guns used in House of Gucci isn't what ruined House of Gucci for me.
Oh.
It was Jared Leto in a fat suit pretending to be Mario. Anyway.
But you quickly digress.
I quickly digress. Corrie has confirmed its Christmas Day time slot. The show will air at 8:30 p.m. Christmas Eve and at 8 p.m. Christmas Day. Both days, the show will be preceded by Emmerdale. We'll also get Corrie for Boxing Day, which is unusual, and New Year's Eve. And the Christmas shows, the two Christmas shows, Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, and the New Year's Eve show, I believe, can all be streamed before those days.
From 7 o'clock that morning.
Yes.
This isn't box setting. This isn't, they're not releasing the Christmas week in advance. It's
Right.
They're releasing that episode in advance, which I think is a sensible thing to do. So on Christmas Day,
Right.
people are busy.
Yes.
If Corrie is one of the most important things in your life, you can watch it before you go and have your Christmas dinner with your friends and family who maybe don't watch Coronation Street.
Or alone in a Chinese restaurant.
Right, somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no, that was New Hampshire, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pennsylvania was the truck stop,
Yeah.
which was the most depressing place I've ever been in my life.
On Christmas Day, no less.
On Christmas Day.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green giant.
Giant.
Finally, sad news, as it looks like Roy is not coming back to the show.
Well,
Due to things David Nielsen has said in interviews this week and speculation from many quarters that Roy may die off screen. Nielsen has said, there are two exits in this for me, one for the character and one for David. Hopefully they won't coincide, and maybe they will, which is like the most cryptic sentence.
it's very cryptic.
Ever.
It's very
He's very
ambiguous.
cryptic.
He hasn't come out and said that I'm not coming back, but he hasn't come out and said that he will be back.
Yeah.
And not only that, nobody else has said anything. So
Right.
It feels like it's deliberately trying to stir up a little bit of intrigue and interest in.
But he's also mentioned his age,
72,
and
yeah.
the death of Norris, and how he's never going to be able to act with that actor again on
Right.
Coronation Street because
Right.
the character has died, and
Yeah.
lots of other things that make it sound like this is
It was a black cab.
more or less permanent.
It was a black cab, and that's very portentous.
Yes,
So
absolutely. And if he just feels like he's done, and then it's time to retire, well, good for him. He needs to do what's right for him and not what's right for us.
absolutely. Although I'd be a liar if I said that I wouldn't be devastated if
Yeah.
we've seen the last of Roy.
And I kind of feel like it would be devastating for the show, because let's remember who wins a lot of the awards here. It's David Nielsen.
It's not even just the awards. It's the
People,
I don't know anybody who doesn't like Roy,
right? He's
and most people
beloved.
love him, right?
Yeah.
And he has, he's been there for forever.
Yeah.
He's transformed as a character from the creepy loner to the kind of the fatherly figure of the street and the moral compass of the street.
Right.
So he's a
But again,
a keystone to the show,
as we
not just from awards.
as we pointed out last week, it really kind of feels like Tony Maudsley as George is kind of filling that void a little bit, and
Yeah.
may continue to fill that void, because he is quirky. He is someone that everybody will know eventually in one aspect or another,
Keep it light.
because everybody dies.
Keep it light.
And just has this very fatherly relationship with Sam and with what's his name?
Todd.
Todd. I knew it started with a T. So, who knows? It kind of feels like the show is subtly filling that void, but who knows?
That's a big apron to fill.
It is a very big apron to fill. And that's Corrie News.
That is Corrie News. With extended chatter. And then our mailbag, which kind of crosses into hindsight corner territory, so I'm going to hit this button anyway.
Right. Haven't been able to do this in a while. Bloop, 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 bloop.
I think we've done this as hindsight corner before. This very much sounds familiar.
Uh-huh.
Friend of the podcast, John, wrote in to say, I think Roy must be using the same charity shop as Emily, so he's probably in Peru doing his, and now I'm going to need a run at this, conquistador. Quiche. Conquistador.
conquistador.
Thank you.
Yes.
Handing out cheese and bacon pies. There is only one country in South America that speaks Portuguese, which is Brazil, although there are pockets of Portuguese speakers in Paraguay, Uruguay and Venezuela.
Oh, so it's both.
Sorry, but I was jumping up and down at neither of you knowing that Dawn featuring Tony Orlando sang Tie Yellow Ribbon, which was a big #1 hit in the UK and the US. Also, no idea why you thought Tom Jones sang it. You sounded so convincing, I started to doubt myself, so I had to check to prove that he didn't cover it. The song is about both prison and war, and it's about a soldier getting out of prison during the American Civil War. The writers need to get their act into gear. The writers of Coronation Street, not
yes.
the song. The writers need to get their act into gear, as there is so much stupidity in just about every storyline, which is making it an ordeal to watch at the moment.
Right. So it's not like an actual like prisoner who did a bad thing and was sent to prison. It was a prisoner of war.
Still a prisoner.
Yeah, but it's a little different because it's not somebody who like went out and murdered somebody.
It's not just somebody coming back from war either.
No, it's somebody who went to war, then was captured by the other side and put in a prisoner of war camp. And then
I definitely have a memory of Tom Jones singing it, but the only thing I could find on the internet about it was other people who have memories of Tom Jones singing it and looking for confirmation.
Oh, so it's the Mandela effect.
I think it is a little bit.
Yeah, it's like it's hilarious because the latest Mandela effect thing has been Ready Whip, and Stelly herself on Thanksgiving when she took the can of Ready Whip out of the fridge, she's like, "Has there always not been an H on this?" And I was like, "Yes, there's always not been an H on
There's
this.
always not been an H.
It's always been WIP." And yet people insist that it used to be HIP. I think people are mixing Ready Whip and Cool Whip.
I'm sure that's what they're doing.
I'm sure.
And now we'll podcast for coffee. Thanks to Jackie for the final donation to our UN World Food Programme little drive on November. I sent off $60 to them this month,
Nice.
which will feed a kid for over 3 months. Jackie says, just got paid, had an absolutely amazing weekend with my new partner, so I'm just sharing the love. Thank you very much, Jackie. We really appreciate it. If you want to buy us next week's coffee, it's not you, Jackie, everyone else. If you want to buy us next week's coffee, it will be going to our coffee for December.
Yeah.
You can go to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street, and we'll be very appreciative,
Okay.
just like we are for Jackie.
AKA buying Stelly an electric guitar and Hamilton tickets for Christmas.
No. And? Either or. We can swing either or, I'm sure. And now, this.
Welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about a Star Wars reference.
Is this that time that Mary had her hair up in cinnamon buns?
That's right, this was David referring to the little gang of residents taking a stand against Ray and his skyscraper plans, calling them the Rebel Alliance,
Oh, that's right.
which Roy noted was a Star Wars reference. I was Gavin and you were wearing your Corrie t-shirt. Doesn't work at the factory, it said, which we
Yes.
agreed was the perfect Christmas gift.
Yes. Today I'm wearing my Labyrinth t-shirt.
And I'm wearing my Paddington t-shirt. I think I have 5 t-shirts that I just wear in rotation.
LOL. Same girl. Same.
Right.
Girl.
Same. I was due back at work in the office in April of 2021. How well that worked out. You uplifted the neighbourhood by decorating the outside of our house for Christmas for the first time, because usually we were away and we weren't going to be. It was a Michigan Christmas, y'all.
It was a Michigan Christmas.
You were just back from the drive-in to see Croods 2,
I loved
a
that
movie that drive-in cinema was invented for.
Yes. A movie that I loved, and it didn't seem to get the love of other people quite so much. Last year, it was all about soul and that movie where Chris Pratt and Tom Holland are brother elves or gnomes or something. Remember that movie?
Nope. Not even a little bit. We got new phones for our Christmas and we're disappointed at the stuff that you get with new phones these days, i.e. you don't get a charger.
Yeah.
I still think that's
rubbish.
just robbery, isn't it?
It is.
Honest to God.
Damn you, Apple.
Tim Apple, don't you have enough money?
Oh.
After 18 months of build-up and 8 months after she swung a wine bottle, Yasmin finally gets her day in court and finds herself up against a prosecuting barrister who might be D.S. Abney without the wig. Leanne wants Oliver's funeral to be a celebration of life, but an unexpected and unwanted guest threatens to permanently destroy her very fragile mood. Led by Abby, who possesses more in the way of detecting skills than the combined whole of the Weatherfield Constabulary, the residents begin to ask questions of the proposed development of a massive skyscraper on the street. Phill Ray has resorted to form in a hotel room, this time with trainee manager Faye. That was a year ago. A sheepish Johnny comes home from a night in the cells intending to plead guilty to his part in the demise of Grant the security guard. Shona may live to regret lending a supportive ear to an impressionable Simon, but at least she's getting an old iPod out of the deal. Sarah's drunken public recap of Carla's dalliance in the Knicker Factory office simultaneously troubles Peter, Adam and Carla. Daisy sets Jenny up on Tinder. Tim's dad borrows Pauline's pass for 10 minutes. Craig could be a bit more supportive. Our moment of the week was Tim apologising for not believing Tim's mum who was his mum, but he believes her now. And our boring moment of the week was Flowers arriving at the florist a day early. And that was Coronation Street and the talk of the street, this time last year.
Another character that it seems is gone forever. Tim's mum. Now that she's selling her shares of.
Oh well, we shall get to that. But yeah, she was
off screen.
Oh, right. She's off screen.
Yes.
She was on screen, and then she went off screen.
And now she's
now
off
it feels like
screen.
she's gone off screen.
Yeah.
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline this morning is our last storyline. So our second storyline is Summer's Hot for Teacher.
Ugh. Just... Why are we... Why?
Who?
You know who.
It was a week of B-sides, it felt, this week. Certainly Monday felt like it was a week of B-sides. All the storylines that we don't really care about kind of rose to the surface on Monday.
Right. We care about Stu.
The podcast main event begins with one of the most troubling sentences I've ever said. Daniel is in his boxer shorts having a chat with Daisy about that angry sex they had last night. Whew. They hear Paul coming up the stairs, or rather feel the heat from his tan. Paul's been away on these hollybobs by the looks of things. Daisy hides and Daniel quickly gets him to go round the block. Paul is suspicious that Daisy is here, but Daniel calls her a self-obsessed clothes horse, and this satisfies Paul, although it seems to hurt the hiding Daisy.
Yes. Yeah, Paul says some rather rude things about Daisy as well, which saddens me.
Daisy doesn't like that Daniel thinks that she's thick. He doesn't care. Sinead was thick as shite in the neck of the bottle too. Daisy compares him to C-3PO when she's more of a Han Solo girl. He was shallow as fuck, says Daniel, who just can't help himself.
No, he really can't. Once he gets going, he just cannot stop, can he? He's just continuously shooting himself in the foot.
Just turn that tap off.
Yeah.
Just turn it off.
Yeah,
and keep your mouth shut.
Don't have to say anything. Stop talking.
Daisy gets back to the pub, which doesn't go unnoticed by one Ashley Fruit Juice, the footballer from last week, who's in with James. Ashley and Daisy share a wee look, although Daisy's too flustered to put much effort into it. Ashley's patter is awful.
It really is.
He's telling tales of changing room hijinks and how he has a Tommy Hilfiger jacket with a massive collar on it. Daisy isn't impressed and says, "Get the drinks in, you prick."
Is Tommy Hilfiger even still a thing?
I think so. As are the United Colours of Benetton. I assume.
I know vintage United Colours of Benetton stuff goes for quite a pretty penny these days.
Interesting.
Yes.
And so concludes the Etsy part of our podcast. Jenny runs into Daniel outside Dev's. She can't help tell him about how famously Daisy's currently getting on with Ashley Fruit Juice back in the Rovers. No hard feelings, says Daniel, and Jenny doesn't believe a word of it. Yeah.
She starts to regret almost immediately that she has said anything.
Right. And later Ashley is boring Daisy stupid with the story of his season. No. Last season.
Right.
She tells him that she's involved with someone else just to shut him up, and Ashley thought they were clicking. Back at the flat, Paul is quizzing Daniel more about that morning. Daniel says there was nothing going on, and Paul tells him to go for it, whatever that is. Through the back of the Rovers, Jenny is surprised to see that Daisy was bored out of her tits with Ashley fruit juice. Jenny explains that Daniel has a face like a bulldog licking pish from a nettle when she told him about Ashley, and Daisy is shocked. Then Jenny twigs that Daisy still has a thing for Daniel, but knows it's because of the house and her being a gold digger and all that sort of stuff.
Right, yeah.
That she's continually saying and then apologising for.
Right, yeah. She is really the worst stepmom ever, isn't she?
Right. And all of this, obviously, is overheard by Daniel, who appears at the door because Sean said that he could go right through.
Fuck you, Sean.
Doesn't even have to be in the scene to be annoying. Daniel is shocked that Daisy even knew about that house thing, and so Daisy has to recap that she overheard months ago. They shout at each other a bit, and it's the kind of shouting at each other a bit that you expect them now to start winching the faces off each other.
Yeah.
But Daisy insists that her feelings were genuine. Daniel is a fucking asshole. They break up, even though they weren't going out.
But they were.
But they weren't, yeah.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, through the back of the Rovers, Jenny apologises for airing her opinion about Daisy being a gold digger again, this time in front of Daniel. Daisy forgives her, and with a smashing hat, she heads off into town with plans for Ashley fruit juice this week.
Yes, she needs to find a two-piece
Yeah, she's going
in
to a
this
spa.
season.
Going to a spa for the weekend. Summer is with Faye, who is cyber stalking Daisy's Insta and is intrigued to learn that she's dating Ashley now.
Wait. Did you just say Summer is with
I
Faye?
keep on getting Faye and Amy mixed up.
How?
I don't know. I never mistake Faye for Amy. I'm constantly mistaking Amy for Faye.
It doesn't make any sense.
Let me run at that again.
Please.
Summer is with Faye. I did it again. Summer is with Amy, who is cyberstalking Daisy's Insta and is intrigued to learn that she's dating Ashley fruit juice now. Summer quickly scurries off to see Daniel for her Oxford interview prep thing, which is taking forever.
Stupid.
Taking a minute to compare her dungaree look to Daisy. Back at the flat, Summer has ditched her dungarees in favour of a lilac thing that's a bit too like what Daisy was wearing in their Insta photograph.
Right, yeah. How did she just happen to have a dress like that in her closet that we've never seen her in before?
After checking again, Summer takes a deep breath and pulls her belt in a notch or two.
Oof.
Here we go with that.
Right, yeah. So is this going to turn from a hot for teacher story to yet another anorexia story?
Disorder story.
Oh, wait, doesn't she already have an eating disorder? No, she has diabetes.
Yes,
Yes.
that we've forgotten about.
I had to sit and think, okay, what exactly is wrong with Summer? Because there's got to be something wrong with Summer, as there has to be something wrong with all of these children.
Joseph has an ingrown toenail. Tyrone has corns. Summer has diabetes. And that's how I remember it.
Right, but then Hope is a sociopath. Ruby is missing a kidney.
Oh, remember when that was a thing? I enjoyed those days. Was that the summer? It feels like that was the summer.
Max has ADHD,
Yeah.
and Sam doesn't talk.
Excellent. Daniel and Summer meet in Nina's roles. He doesn't notice her outfit or her makeup or the fact that her belt has been taken in a notch or two. So Summer's answering Daniel's questions about her love of literature. Daniel thinks her answers are too down pat and advises that she answers more personally, like she's on a first date.
Right.
Summer decides to chat to Daniel about Sinead and Daisy, and he quickly moves the subject back to her interview.
Right, because it's inappropriate.
Right. Or even just inappropriate.
No,
Later.
it's inappropriate.
I was conscious that me saying that was really inviting you to do it again.
Yes,
and I
it
did it anyway.
is.
Later, Adam comes in ahead of a lunch appointment. Daniel admits that he had continued to see Daisy on the down low. But it's over now. She's getting pegged by a footballer. Adam thinks that he's dodged a bullet there, but Daniel says Daisy is the first woman he's felt anything for since Bethany.
Sorry, sex cardigan.
Poor Nikki and all those expensive sex cardigan hours. Summer is back at Amy's as Asha arrives. We learn that Asha and Nina haven't had their whole off of each other yet, and they get down to planning the ice ball.
But they have slept together in the same bed.
The ice ball, which sounds like a Christmas party or something.
It's a dance.
A dance.
Yes.
Like a foxtrot?
Like a school dance.
Oh, school dance, sorry.
Yes.
Summer is about to fuck off to tutor Max until she learns Daniel will be involved in the planning of the ice ball, so she decides to hang around for a bit. So eventually Max and Summer meet up. Max talks about his filmmaking, and he has a rough cut of Billy's soup kitchen film. Thankfully we don't get to see it.
Scintillating.
Summer suggests that he films the ice ball, and Max is only too happy to oblige.
Yes.
It's awkward city at the Rovers when Daisy and Ashley Fruitjuice come in while Daniel is still there. He mocks their terms of endearment for each other and then tells Ashley that Daisy is tighter than a gnat's chuff, which is meant to be a bad thing. Tight in terms of her spending money.
Right. But there are so many other ways that tight can be.
Yes.
Yeah.
The elasticity. Anyway, so privately though, it's clear that Daisy isn't happy with the situation, and Jenny is beginning to think that she would be better off with Daniel, but it's too late. Daisy and Ashley Fruitjuice go off for a fancy meal somewhere. On Friday at school, Max is being a twat with his camera, sticking in Amy's face, announcing that his plans to film The Lame Ice Ball are on track. There's a bit of a three-way conversation between Summer, who is doing Shakespearean poetry homework, Daniel, who thinks that Shakespeare is interesting, and Max, who thinks this entire thing is lame as fuck.
Yeah, he's got a very expensive camera now.
That looks like one of those mirrorless jobs that I see so much about.
Yeah, that's a really nice camera. I thought he was filming everything on his phone.
No, but he has a proper...
Yes. Is this something that he's borrowed from school? Is this school property? Because it's really nice. Nicer than what a school would have.
This is where your council tax pounds are going.
Right.
Buying fancy Sony Alpha mirrorless cameras for the likes of Max to stick in Amy's face. But not like that. Max and Amy eventually leave Summer and Daniel to it. She's keen to get his help on some love poems, but rather than show her the love poems, he decides to write them down. Because what could possibly go wrong with that? Daniel reads some of Browning's love poetry, and Summer comes in her pants a bit, or her dungarees. Amy comes in and leaves a burst inflatable snowman for Summer to take to Billy to fix as Daniel rushes off to another lesson, leaving Summer with all his handwritten love poetry that she pockets. Later, Daniel returns to find Summer still in his classroom, and he tries to remember the last time that he came into his classroom and she wasn't there. She claims that she was doing her poetry assignment while it was still fresh in her memory. Daniel tells her to fuck off and have some fun, and he offers to give her and the snowman a ride home.
Right.
Back in the street, Daniel drops Summer off, and as they wave goodbye to each other and share a little bit of banter, we see that Max has been filming this exchange from the other side of the street. And it looks like he's rather worryingly putting two and two together here and coming up with a big old 5.
Yes.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes. I hate this.
Which part of it?
All of it.
The Daniel and Daisy bit? No, you like that bit.
Yeah, I like Daniel and Daisy together, and I hate that they're apart. And I hate that, he keeps doing this whole back and forth. They make up, and then they fight again, and then they make up, and then they fight again.
I think this is them trying to sell us as a tempestuous relationship.
And then, Daisy goes off with boring Ashley, who
by any measure is boring.
Right.
By any measure.
Right.
No chat whatsoever.
No. And that's unfortunate.
I mean, even James, who is also a footballer, made
sick
his
of his
excuses
banter.
and left, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even look very much like a footballer. It looks like No, I'm going to say something.
Inappropriate.
Not inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
Not inappropriate, but uncharitable.
Uncharitable.
There we go. What do you think about this strange decision by Daniel to write down the love poetry examples? Because I think... Here's what I think's happening, right?
I think he's just too busy to go and get the book off the shelf, or he may not have the book there on the shelf.
So spend more time writing it down?
Yeah, I would have just said to her, I would have written it on the board and had her write it herself in her own notebook. The whole thing is just odd. And
did he write it down in his own scented notepaper?
Oh, God.
Because here's what I think's happening.
Somebody's
Max,
going to find this in Daniel's handwriting in Summer's notebook, and he's going to lose his job and be labeled a pedophile.
And that was my impression of Helen saying what I think. Which I think was pretty accurate. Yeah,
It's like
that's exactly
we
what
share
I
a
think.
brain.
That's exactly what I think is going to happen. And I think Max is now
Going to be the
starting
one.
to build up evidence
Yeah.
about this whole thing with
Yeah.
his stupid camera.
Right, because he's hot for summer now.
So I think he's going to be putting together his evidence in a package which is somehow going to be broadcast during the ice ball.
Right, and Daniel's really going to regret,
'Cause he's
encouraging this
involved.
boy to work on his art of filmmaking.
Daniel is involved in the ice ball, so he's going to be there when this reveal happens, presumably. Yeah, I think this is where we're going with that.
And I hate it. I hate it because I hate this kind of storyline anyway. The whole hot for teacher thing.
To Sir with Love.
Well, no, because To Sir with Love was different. It wasn't about sex.
It just sounded like it was.
Right. Yeah. The song. But, the movie is a masterpiece of classic cinema.
I think it's a good song as well.
It is
Especially when
good.
Susanna Hoff sings it.
Well, you think everything Susanna Hoff does is good.
Yes, I do. Anyway. Is this how Summer gets out of going to Oxford? Because I don't think she's going to Oxford, because I don't think we're losing the character. Maybe we are. I mean,
Who
if
knows?
Roy's gone, anyone can go.
Right.
I don't get the sense that we're losing Summer as a character.
Right.
What I'm getting the sense of that something's going to happen that's going to fuck up her application and prevent her from going to Oxford. And I think this is it.
Yeah. It just feels like this character has grown into something that young Summer would have never grown into.
It's very hard to reconcile this with Summer 1.0 who shouted at Daniel to shut his fucking face.
Yeah. 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 And, new Max being this creepy sociopath kid. I mean, Max had his problems before
Yes, he did.
because he's always had ADHD, regardless of the face.
He tried to tell him to Craig,
Right. Who then just walked out the door.
I'll see myself out.
Yes. But, over the years, it did genuinely seem like he loved David and Shona and was happy in his family and everything. So for it to all of a sudden just be him being creepy and evil.
Yeah, the switch has definitely been flipped.
Yeah. Yeah.
This doesn't feel anyway like it was a gradual thing.
No.
Although there was maybe, like you said, pepperings throughout his history where, he's not an interesting character if he doesn't have something going on.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, when you hit puberty, you do kind of go a little nuts.
Yeah, you instantly become taller than David. That's what happened to me when I hit puberty. I instantly became taller than David. Then I just stopped.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh, well.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Our next storyline this morning is Sofacking Disgrace. On Monday, Alad, otherwise known as the only quad on the street, is off for his surgery.
Finally.
Bernie can't help but let slip that she has a surprise in store for them when they come back. This harkens back to something that she said last week. Grace comes along and confirms that they're still on for the sofa exchange. This is a sofa that Aggie is going to buy for Grace, who was complaining about living in an unfurnished house or an uncomfortably furnished house,
Right, yeah.
which made her want to go out on the randan more often.
Right.
Aggie was fool enough to fall for it. Bernie is working in Lena's roles, arranging delivery of the sofa with a mate. When Michael comes in, Bernie doesn't want to get involved, but thinks it's shocking how badly Aggie talks to Grace. You wouldn't talk to a dog like that, she says. The sofa is being delivered by an elderly version of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. It turns out that he's
not the other Shaggy.
he's the mulled wine guy from another storyline, and he's bitching about Sally. Aggie comes out of the house and clocks the sofa, and then Chesney and Gemma get back. Apparently the surgery was a huge success, although it looks like they came back without Alad.
Right. Yeah, they don't take Alan out of the car.
No, they just
They just talk about the fact that
He's fine.
he cannot be bathed for like a week.
Can't get wet. So he's just sitting in the car for a week. listening to things. On Wednesday,
Or not listening to things.
Ed and Aggie are bitching about Grace and how that sofa has ended up with Bernie next door. Michael comes down the stairs and berates the pair of them for their attitude towards Grace, echoing what Bernie had told him. Ed promises that they'll do better in the future. But Aggie storms round to Nina's Rolls to have it out with Bernie, who admits that all she had to go on is Grace shouting her mouth off at the Rovers the other night.
Right, that she's never actually seen.
Right. So now Aggie goes to Shaggy's stand and after a fashion gets the confirmation that she needs that Grace did indeed sell Bernie the sofa, which I felt like she already knew. So Aggie storms back to Nina's Rolls to have it out with Grace now, who claims that she needed the cash and what she does with her furniture has nothing to do with Aggie. But, what?
She just bought that for you because you were complaining about how uncomfortable things are. I think she kind of has a right to be upset. I mean, Grace is right. She has a right to do with her stuff whatever she wants to. But Aggie has a right to be upset that something that she bought specifically for Grace because Grace says she needed it immediately got sold the same week.
The same day, as far as I can make out.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Aggie says fine. Until you sort your shit out, there'll be no more free babysitting. Grace is apoplectic with rage and arranges to meet Bernie for a drink later to vent, taking Glory off to a babysitter. At home, Aggie explains to Ed about the sofa and the kibosh on babysitting duties, and Ed is now furious that this means he doesn't get to see Glory. Ed thinks Grace has done everything they've asked of her and that she would tread them carefully, and Aggie reluctantly agrees. But later we hear that Grace has been unable to secure the services of a babysitter after all, and instead she's monitoring Glory on an app on her phone.
Yeah.
Grace continues to complain about Aggie, and she has Bernie's sympathy until Aggie comes along to apologise for what she said earlier, and Grace says that Glory is at a friend's house, which arouses Bernie's suspicions. And those suspicions are further tickled when she catches Grace checking on Glory on that app.
Right, because Aggie says that she went to the house and knocked on the door and nobody answered.
Nobody was there. Right.
Right. Which is suspicious considering that she said that the babysitter was there.
Bernie says that she would never leave her kids unattended. Am I supposed to just sit there while she sleeps, says Grace. Yes, says Bernie. And she orders Grace to get back to her baby, and Grace is so awful, she asks Bernie to keep quiet about this. Now, you just mentioned about Max and Summer, and I feel that Grace is another character that we can throw in there, that she... Alright, when we first meet Grace, she is performing a ruse on Michael with regards to Tiana, right?
She so wanted to have a baby and a happy
Correct.
family with Michael that she pretended that somebody else's baby was her baby because she wanted a baby so much.
Yeah, and she was a kind of live-in
Right.
au pair nanny type thing, right?
Yes. Yes. So a woman who at one point loved babies so much,
You've
she
got to
would
think-
pretend...
At least fond of a baby, right?
She would pretend that another baby is her baby. Now acts like she hates babies. She doesn't want to be around babies. She doesn't understand why she has to sit there and watch a baby sleep.
Is a danger to a baby.
And says she never wanted this baby. Well, she hasn't said that yet,
But she's about to.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of this angers me so much because, yes, Grace was not a great person. She
had issues.
possibly mentally ill throughout all of this and everything. But I kind of feel like making her so awful now just kind of negates the whole, racism storyline that she had.
Oh, yeah, way back, yeah.
Yeah. And probably make some people watching who are horrified by how awful she is think, well, maybe she did steal those groceries. Because, because she's a really awful person, and a person capable of leaving their baby alone in the house is capable of anything.
Now,
Just to go out drinking. And that's the other thing that really bothers me is that, and I talked about this last week, is that she's not going out to see her friends. And we know she has friends. Mm-hmm. Because although quite arguably some of those friends may be friends with her other friends whose baby she kind of stole. So maybe they don't want to hang out with her anymore because she's a baby snatcher. But
wee bit.
still, she's She says she needs to go out, but then she goes out and she's just sitting drinking by herself.
Yeah.
Or
talk to Bernie of all people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it really, really bothers me, this whole thing, of making Grace kind of this evil person and saying, oh, well, it's so hard to be a single mom. And it makes me wonder, was a switch flipped
Exactly.
for her because Michael rejected her?
Exactly.
Is that why all of a sudden she just can't be bothered with a baby?
I presume so. But at that point, as you rightly said, she was keeping the baby.
Right.
And that was a decision that she made as well. So she had a decision to make round about that.
Right.
She kept the baby. She was happy to have Michael be involved.
Right.
In Glory's upbringing.
Right.
She was living rent-free.
Yes.
With Michael and his family.
Yes.
Fair enough, okay, with Aggie, who,
Yeah.
you don't get on with. But
No.
in that situation, I felt that Aggie was more charitable to Grace than she's been when Grace wasn't living with them.
Right.
So
Yes.
it was a better situation, and it looked like they were starting to get on.
Yeah.
Grace makes this huge play for Michael, which he rejects.
Yes.
Which was a mistake.
Right.
And she just
But she
waited for it to happen organically or whatever.
Arguably, she makes this huge play after he sleeps with her.
This is true.
So she has been given the impression that Michael still cares about her romantically because Michael slept with her.
But then she's gone all Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
And it's that bit. I think I don't have a complaint at all about the acting of it, because I think she's doing a really good job of looking kind of deranged and unhinged
evil.
and seeing reality in a very different way.
Right.
I think she's doing a really good job of that.
Right.
But it's the sudden change in character that I find
Right.
really jarring, and it looks like they're just in a hurry to get rid of her.
Yeah. It does feel that way. Which again is unfortunate, because that's losing another person of color on the street. And it's like when we lose our lesbians, there's nothing to replace them.
Right.
Whereas if we lose an old white guy, as beloved as he is, there's still other old white guys to take his place.
Yeah, every time you lose a lesbian, I'm crushed.
Yeah.
So on Friday at Nina's Rolls, Bernie opens up to Gemma about how Grace left Glory unattended at home. Gemma thinks Aggie needs to know about this, but Bernie isn't a grass. Either you tell her or I will, says Gemma.
Yeah.
So Bernie
Good job, Gemma.
So Bernie goes to speak with Aggie and tells her about her concerns with Glory. And then Grace turns up with Glory and dumps her on Michael for a few days. Mm-hmm. Michael rushes off to get some nappies, leaving Aggie to appear asking for a chat. Grace tells her to fuck off, but Aggie insinuates that she knows exactly who was babysitting Glory yesterday and inquires whether she wants Michael to know that too. So Aggie tells Grace it's obvious that she can't cope with being a mum and suggests that she has postnatal depression. Grace says that she just isn't cut out to be a mother, and now that she's gone full-blown bitch again, she admits that she wishes Glory had never been born. If you care about her so much, she says, you can have her. For 20 grand, the kid is yours, and you will never see me again.
Right. And she also threatens to do a runner if they call social services.
Yeah. But where is Glory at the moment?
Right. Yeah. See, this is the thing. I don't know if you were too asleep to not hear me last night when I was shouting at my iPad.
Was that what that was? Yeah, I think you woke me up.
About the fact that they have Glory.
Yeah.
She can't do a runner with that baby.
She's with her dad.
Right. You have the baby. Call social services and get Grace's ass arrested for child endangerment. They will come right away for things like this. You're not going to be put on a waiting list for something like this. They will send the police right now.
Right.
And she can't do a runner. Aggie and Ed are not stupid people. Why are they acting like stupid people?
The next two scenes will do their best to make you convinced that they are stupid people. Or at least Ed. No, I think both of them actually have to take some.
Yeah, because Aggie doesn't.
Back home, Aggie wants to grass Grace up to the social services. Glory simply isn't safe. But Ed wants to give her the 20 grand. Then Michael comes downstairs to remind everyone that they are currently the ones who have Glory.
Right.
She's
So
asleep
it's
now
sleeping
upstairs.
soundly
Right.
upstairs.
No one seems to notice. Ed still wants to give Grace that cash. He thinks that they may need to get something in writing to keep it right if it goes to court.
Right, because and also to keep Grace from coming back time and time again asking for more money, which
Right.
is the one smart thing that Aggie says. What's to stop her from coming back for more money?
Right.
Because this is all. Let's remember, she's already blackmailed them for a house and money to furnish the house and pay the bills and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't think a document
She has
saying we
form.
agreed to buy our grandchild is going to be much use in court. but-
well, it probably wouldn't say that. It would say that she agreed to give custody over
Right.
to them.
Well, I feel like we've talked about this long enough. So I'm quite happy to move on, unless you have anything else to say on the matter.
Yeah, and it doesn't really resolve. They're like, what are we going to do? Well, we have the baby in the house and she can't do a runner with the baby and she's going to be gone for a couple of days.
Right.
Let's not forget, you can have social services waiting at the door for her when she comes back to grab her.
Oh, would they grab her?
Well, the cops would grab her.
They would grab her.
Yeah.
Little plastic grabbers.
No.
They would just tickle her, I think, wouldn't they?
You'd grab her shoulders and put her
Wrestle
hands
her to
in
the ground.
cuffs and say, shame on you for leaving a baby alone in a house.
I arrest you for baby stuff.
Right.
Throw in the back and PC Tinker can take her away.
Yeah, the whole CCTV thing. Well, I can see her. Yeah, but if something happened,
I can look at CCTV from Red Square probably on a webcam somewhere. It doesn't mean to say that I can just leap into action and do something if I'm required to.
and even like making it slightly more realistic and in relation to where Grace is and where the baby is. You know, there's a river cam down by the river at the park over by Craftco where you can sit and watch the ducks and kids smoking marijuana.
And the ducks fucking each other. That somebody complained about.
Well, it's rape, but
That is rape. It's duck rape.
regardless,
It's duck rape.
ducks are awful. But anyway, with their corkscrew, just never mind.
Moving on.
We can be sitting in the house and watching that, and let's say it's one of our kids in one of those cars smoking marijuana. By the time we saw it on the screen, got in the car and drove down to the river, they could be long gone, or the police could have already gotten them, and they're already across the street at the police station / fire station. So
Why are you going into so much of the civic workings of our small town when we could be moving on to the next storyline?
right, but that's our point.
Yeah, and I think it was obvious.
Yeah, it makes more sense though than Red Square because that's
just a socialist in me coming out.
just too far away.
Yeah. Our next storyline this morning is dying to get married. On Monday at Emma's, she confirms that Curtis's specialist appointment is tomorrow. Curtis is oddly miffed that Emma was talking to the receptionist about their wedding, insisting that he wants it to be kept low-key and quiet, hardly worth bothering about. He's suspicious as fuck, but they agree to check out
Super
venues together
easy.
later.
Barely an inconvenience.
Don't get me started on that.
Wow.
So funny.
That's just for you, Scriptocene,
That's so funny.
who's also into the pitch meetings.
If you aren't into pitch meetings, just go into YouTube and watch maybe 20 or 30 of them back to back, and then
Or watch some of Ryan George's other skits.
I
Like
don't find.
the worst, the worst timeline ones.
I don't think it's as good. But
Anyway.
anyway.
Wow. We
So
said wow a lot on this show this week. And none of it in reference to Coronation Street. Just impersonating other people.
Curtis and Emma have set their sights as far as the bistro for a venue. Emma's dead excited, Curtis less so, but he's insisting that the numbers are kept low and there's probably just not enough to justify a larger venue.
Right.
Debbie suggests a rape hotel. Curtis thinks that the bistro, his workplace,
Is fine.
is probably enough. Debbie's got 8 hotels, she says.
And yet
That's good
the
to put a
only
number
one
to
she
that.
recommends is the rape hotel.
Right. Because Emma being hyper and Curtis being a downer is a thing,
Maybe it's because it has so many power
5 power outlets in every room.
Yes.
They go and see Amy and invite her to be a bridesmaid. Curtis tells everyone that his 2 best friends are abroad. They live in Canada, you wouldn't know them, and he doesn't get on with his family, so he doesn't expect anyone on his side to come at the wedding. Amy is dead suspicious about this. Amy has got the mark of Curtis, I think, already.
Amy is the super detective on the street.
Sure.
Like I said,
Back home,
she needs a van and a Great Dane.
Emma mentions how they've both lost their dads and he should speak to his mum, but there's too much bad blood there, and what with his specialist bill, they really should be keeping this wedding as low rent as possible. So Emma goes to see Steve and tells him about the problem with Curtis's parents. She's had an idea though. Despite Curtis saying that he doesn't get on with his family, she's going to secretly start inviting them. Steve goes along with this harebrained plan. On Wednesday...
Admittedly, it's not the most harebrained plan Emma has ever come up with, so I think Steve is just kind of used to it by now.
That's a dreadful idea though.
At least in this plan, her hand isn't going to get stuck in a vase.
Right. For 2 episodes. on Wednesday. 2 episodes. Emma has a wedding binder. Of course she does. She's wanting to get ready for Curtis's appointment. He's not sure that she needs to go with him because it might be bad news, but she insists. She has a good feeling about this. And then Curtis finds a post-it note with his cousin's phone number on it. He's not chuffed that Emma has been in touch and told her about the wedding, but seems calmer when he finds out that the cousin hasn't replied yet. He maintains that it wants nothing to do with his family. Then Aggie bumps into Emma in Nina's roles and learns that Curtis has dropped out of medical school, so she goes round to see him at the bistro, reckoning this decision was heart-related. Not emotion heart-related,
Right,
but
and
problem-related.
I'm really confused now because I thought that Curtis didn't want Aggie to know that he had a heart condition. So how did Aggie find out he had a heart condition?
She thinks this should be a conversation to be having with his mentor. Curtis says that he doesn't get on with his mentor.
He doesn't get on with anybody.
Exactly. The NHS needs you, says Aggie. Fuck off, says Curtis.
He really does. Essentially say that.
And he goes off to answer his phone. Without any hello, he tells the person to leave him alone. I'm very ill, he says. So at the private hospital, which looks a bit like the medical centre with a paint job, Curtis and Emma are waiting for his appointment. A receptionist comes over
And
to tell
Emma
him.
talks about how posh it looks inside this fancy private hospital.
She seems surprised as well that NHS doctors kind of work privately as well.
Moonlight, yeah.
I think they get 80% of their pay for 20% of their work by working privately on the side. So the receptionist comes over to tell him that the specialist that Curtis was due to see has been held up somewhere, so he'll be seen by Dr. Hanley instead, and Curtis shits a brick. Curtis wants to leave, but Emma stalls him until he's called, and Curtis goes in to see Dr. Hanley alone. And Dr. Hanley is in no mood for Curtis's shit.
Right, yes.
The two of them have a history together.
Isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient that the specialist he was supposed to see can't be there today? So here's the specialist who already knows that Curtis is full of shit.
Well, I think this is deliberate. I think Hanley's deliberately there to have this conversation with him again.
Do you really think that medical doctors are that sneaky?
Privately, probably. Because they've tried everything else.
Right.
They've been round the houses, seen somebody else that isn't going to make this an any different condition to what it was.
Right.
Anyway, this didn't bother me. It's in shorthand. So the two of them have a history together, and we learn that the scar that Curtis has is from a small hole in his heart operation that he had as a kid. And long story short, there's fuck all wrong with him. He's in A1 shape. The doctor thinks that
scar looks newer than that.
he has a factitious disorder and he wants to refer him to a psychologist, but Curtis is already out the door, spinning a story to Emma about him being really sick and some tests have been ordered, but his condition may be managed. And this gives Emma some hope. And at home, Emma and Curtis are talking weddings when Tyrone says that there's a bloke outside looking for Curtis. Curtis goes down to see who
Because
it is.
Tyrone still lives there.
Right? Awkwardly. Curtis goes down to see who it is, and it's a guy who, first of all, looks like he drinks too much coffee, and then looks like he's Kev on his wedding day, claiming to be Curtis's dad.
He does look like he would be Curtis's dad, though.
does.
They have the same hair.
Right. He's Curtis's first assistant caller.
Can I just say, though, about the whole Tyrone thing, I do like Emma and Tyrone hanging out together. Like when Curtis leaves and Emma asks Tyrone if he knows anything about what flowers are in season this time of year.
Right.
And he just kind of like, and when they're on the couch together watching TV together, they do make good roommates. They are funny together.
I think so.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I got that out.
Right. So,
Back to the dad.
where did I get to?
The dad looks like Kev.
Kev and his wedding day. Not just Kev. Kev and his wedding day.
It is excellent casting, though.
He's Curtis's persistent caller and he's heard that there's going to be a wedding. What does Emma know about his health? And he threatens to speak direct to Emma until Curtis manages to talk him out of it and they arrange to have a meeting at the bistro instead. So at the bistro, Curtis's dad doesn't think it's right that Curtis is continuing his spiel about being ill. Curtis's dad is the same as the doctor pretty much. He's sick of all this talk. Emma comes along and Curtis's dad introduces himself as Neville, Curtis's dad. Evil stepdad, says Curtis.
Right, yeah, because Emma's quite startled. She's like, wait a second, I thought your dad was dead.
Yeah, he's my evil stepdad, says Curtis quickly, because Emma believes Curtis's dad to be dead. Neville is so shocked he heads off for a shite,
Right,
while
yeah.
Emma blames herself for all this and then leaves them to it. And later in Nina's roles, Emma meets up with Sean and Beth, and Sean offers to make Emma's dress for her, much to Beth's surprise. And back at the bistro, Curtis is grateful to Neville for keeping his mouth shut, but Neville is only keeping quiet to give Curtis a chance to speak up for himself. Tell Emma the truth, she might understand, she might help, and boy, you need help. Mm-hmm. So on Friday at Emma's, she's talking to Curtis about her mood board. Curtis is still in the mood about Neville's appearance and claims that no one will be attending his wedding because they don't want to. Emma really wants his mum to be there, so he says that he'll talk to Neville about it later. Curtis and Neville are at the bistro again, and Curtis lies and says that he told Emma the truth and she dumped him. Neville tells him to come home with him, we'll find proper therapy, and Curtis tells him to GTF, he's leaving town, and he tells Neville to stay away. In the Rovers, Curtis continues his lie to Emma about his mum's apathy towards him in the wedding. Emma offers to speak to her about his health issues, and Curtis bites his head off. His mum will never find out anything about what's wrong with his health. Oh, excuse me, a wee touch of windy pops there. Steve finds Curtis in the bistro. Curtis brings Steve up to speed, or at least his version of it. Curtis feels like he hasn't had a family until he met Emma and Steve.
Aww.
And that's as far as we get with that this week. So
It's the marine biologist all over again, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is just...
Curtis is 2021's marine biologist.
Right. It's just... You know, as I said...
I'm like, are you sure you're not out for revenge?
Yeah, as I
Are you
said-
sure, Curtis?
As I said a few weeks ago, this... Is fictitious disorder the same? Is it just another word for Munchausen's? I've never heard of fictitious disorder. Is it?
Well, I think its root comes from fiction.
Right. Yes. Right. Yeah. But it doesn't sound. Is that a? It's just.
If only there was a way to find out.
It's just this. This is. It seems like.
Well, we don't both need to do it.
I know.
In fact, it would be good if one of us is talking.
It seems like, you know, as I said a few weeks ago, this isn't how mental disorders work. This is because he seems to be self-aware that there's really nothing wrong with him. He seems to know that in the way that he lies to other people. If he really believed that he was sick and the doctor said that he wasn't sick, what he would say to Emma is not, oh yes, it's really bad and they're going to run some more tests. He would say, this was all a waste of time. The
Correct.
Doctors don't believe me.
Well, that's exactly what I
that there's
think.
something wrong.
Yeah.
All doctors are stupid, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, if the medical community of Weatherfield knew that Curtis was full of shit, that time that he was admitted into the hospital and they said, we'd like to keep you in for a little while to run some more tests, they would not have said, we'd like to keep you in for a little while to run a few more tests. They would have said, all right, Curtis, enough is enough. Stop wasting the NHS's time during a pandemic and get the fuck out of here.
Factitious disorder, factitious, not fictitious, factitious disorder is a serious mental disorder in which someone deceives others by appearing sick, by purposely getting sick, or by self-injury. or self-injury, if you prefer to say it that way. Factitious disorder can also happen when family members or caregivers falsely present others, such as children, as being ill, injured, or impaired. So it sounds very much like
Munchausen's and Munchausen's by proxy,
yeah,
which is when you get your kids sick.
yeah. But what you said there about Curtis makes a decision to lie to Emma,
Right.
and makes a conscious decision to lie. He didn't hear that from the doctor,
Right.
so he's making a decision in his head
Right.
to lie to her.
Right. There seems
Which
to
is
be...
very different, I agree, than saying, this doctor doesn't think there's anything wrong with me,
But he's wrong.
but he's wrong. Exactly.
There's nothing they can do for me, which is what the doctor says at first. And you think,
Terminal.
yeah, but we can't do anything for you because there's nothing wrong with you. And this is also troubling because there can be other things wrong with your body that present as something wrong with your heart. So just because there's nothing wrong with his heart doesn't mean that there's not necessarily something physically wrong with him, because a lot of like gastrointestinal stuff, for example, can present as a heart attack or can present as, because like your heart and your lungs and your stomach and everything's kind of centralized, so I don't know, this whole thing just, like I said, it just feels like the marine biologist all over again, and it's not great.
It isn't great.
No.
Anyway, let's move on then to Kelly's painfully long redemption storyline. On Monday, Nina is on the phone to South America looking for Roy.
Hi,
Hello, South America.
South America?
Is Roy there, please?
Is Roy there in South America, please?
He's
Hello,
got an anorak
South America.
on. He has an anorak. Okay, I'll call back. Thank you.
Thank you, South America.
Kelly comes in to thank Nina, but then Amy comes in for a rhubarb puff and to give Kelly a hard time about the phone theft
The
thing.
rhubarb puffs are very popular this week.
Yes, Kelly can explain. Well, go on then. Then Maria's at the furniture thing complaining to Gary about Sally from a different storyline when in comes Kelly looking for a present for a mate. She says she'll come back later, and Maria warns Gary not to get involved. I'm already involved, says Gary.
Yes.
In Nina's roles, Gary and Maria have treated Kelly to a slap-up meal, a horse brass that she had her eyes on earlier, and Maria even offers her a job at the barber's. All just like that.
Just like that.
Just illustrating that her issues could have been solved
So very quickly.
so very quickly earlier. That once again, she's a person who has a number of people looking out for her and wanting the best for her, even though she was a kind of a horrible person and is partly responsible for Seb's death.
In fairness, I kind of feel like her stint being homeless made her a bit more sympathetic to people.
Which is what it was meant to do.
Yeah.
Kelly goes to give the horse brass to homeless Stu as a thank you. That cough isn't getting any better. Kelly now cares and tells him to get checked out. He tells her to go so she isn't late for her first day on the job, but not like that. After one day at the barber, Maria trusts Kelly with the key to the place and asks her to open up tomorrow, but is instructed not to cut anyone's hair. So the first thing that Kelly does with this responsibility is to unlock the barbers and to let homeless Stu sleep there tonight, what with him having that cough and that. And then Simon, who still hasn't had his hole, he comes along, pissed that Addie got to put her up instead of him.
Right, yeah.
And that's that.
I'm glad that Stu isn't caught in the barbers.
I thought that was where we were going.
Yeah. I'm glad that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kelly's heart is in the right place, and I wouldn't want Stu to get in trouble with Maria.
Yeah, this was where I was going to get prepared for an elongation of the already painfully long redemption storyline, was that Maria was going to find out, she was going to go through the roof, she was going to sack Kelly after one day, and then Kelly goes back, not thinking that she's worthless, not trusting anybody, losing friends and all that sort of thing. So I'm glad that didn't happen.
Correct.
That's about it though, isn't it? Nothing much else to say there apart from how funny it was that Nina was phoning South America. Let's all laugh at that because that was funny.
Hello, South America?
Can I speak to Peru, please?
South America?
Moving on then.
Not just Peru. Darkest Peru.
Darkest Peru.
Because you're wearing your Paddington shirt today.
And give you one of my hard stares.
As long as you give me one of your hard somethings.
Oh, well that went a bit X-rated very quickly. Our next storyline this morning is meeting Mimi. On Friday, at Fizzy's, Phill with 2 L's is helping out Maria with council stuff, offering to introduce her to Malcolm at Roads and Transport, but not like that. We learn that Phill also has some MMA experience.
Of course he does.
And his shower is out of action for a couple of days, so Fizz tells him that he can stay there while he's getting that sorted out, and everyone shits themselves a bit when they realise the implications of what she just said.
Right.
She just asked him to move in.
Right. But only for a few days.
But only for a few days.
Right. Just because of his shower.
So why then later has Phill brought all his stuff, including massive yucca plant?
Well, because he's not going to be there to water it for a few days, so I can understand the plant. It's all the other stuff.
Also, he's invited his mum round for tea later.
Oh.
So then we meet Phill with 2 L's mum, Mimi. She arrives in a very fancy Merc. She's quite the character, full of airs and graces.
She claims to have had a lot of plastic surgery, but she has not had lots of plastic surgery.
She's brought her dog, Coco, who's a handbag dog and doesn't seem very friendly.
Yeah.
Phill is thrilled, and Fizz looks like she wants to drop down dead. Tea at Fizzy's is as awkward as fuck, with Fizz blurting out how Ruby is her ex-partner's kid whose mum went to prison and is now dead.
Right, because she shows a picture to this woman, and this woman very rudely says, "Oh, I see Ruby is your stepdaughter, I presume."
I thought she was going to be...
Because she's black.
I thought she was going to be much more obvious in her racism there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was bad enough. It was already bad enough.
When Mimi nips off for a shite, Fizz is embarrassed that Mimi is so posh and she's dead.
She's
not posh.
She's not really posh, though.
She's just awful.
She's hideous.
Phill thinks the tea is going great. So after her shite, Mima wants to talk about Phill with 2 L's birthday. She's throwing a party at the Rotary Club for him. Then Phill explains that Fizz has already made plans at the bistro. Mimi takes it in her stride and agrees to move her plans there. Phill with 2 L's suggests that Mimi and Fizz work together on this. Great, they both say.
And she thought the bistro was like a laundromat or something?
I can't remember what she said she thought it was.
I'm sorry. I have been in a number of Rotary clubs in my lifetime. The bistro is much more posh than any Rotary club I've ever been in.
I haven't been in a Rotary club in the UK. I've been in a Rotary club here.
Yes.
And it isn't posh.
Well, our Rotary club here meets in a church's back room. Mm-hmm. They don't even have a club building of their own.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was nice.
Yeah, and they're lovely people.
It just wasn't posh.
No.
So your thoughts about Mimi as this archetypal...
She's fake. She's so fake. She's pretending to be posh, and it seems like she's, that Phill has just kind of accepted that this is the way his mother is.
Tell you something though, that Mercedes wasn't a Mirage.
Meh.
That's a lot of car there.
That's a rental for the day.
I don't know.
Because she doesn't. She looks like Cruella de Vil.
Yes.
Like 30 years on
from
the original animated movie.
I just wonder if Mimi is going to be a character that lasts, how diluted that character is going to be very quickly.
Because let's remember what...
Nobody's keeping that up for a while.
Yeah. Let's remember what Bernie was like when she first showed up.
On Evelyn. And
how diluted she has become over time, where now she's mocking people who have children with crunchy granola names. While naming her children Apollo and Gemini and talking about the stars and reading tea leaves and stuff. Yeah. And it's obvious Phill is a mama's boy.
Yeah, just a little bit, isn't it?
Just a little bit. She can do no wrong.
Yeah, I can relate. You were looking at me as if you were expecting me to say that, so...
I never.
So that was our penultimate storyline. So our final storyline of the morning is Tim's mum about the house.
You just wanted to be able to use that one last time.
Yeah. The little rule that I've had to myself is that if a storyline mentions Tim's mum, it becomes Tim's mum about the house.
Right, yes.
On Monday, Ryan is an early visitor to the Nazir household. He's obviously suspicious of Zeedan, but is distracted when Alia asks him out for lunch later. But it's not a date, but they're just going out for lunch and that. And it make me quite nice and stuff.
Nice.
Zeedan is loading up the food truck with a bag of cash, taking a moment to challenge a passing Debbie to a race for some reason. Then Ryan comes along and mentions how he saw Zeedan with Hashim the other day, acts concerned that the last time that happened, Zeedan got his pie booted. Zeedan insists it's nothing and he leaves. Alia is waiting for Ryan and the Rovers, insisting a bit too hard to Jenny that they're not dating again. Not her and Ryan, not her and Jenny. He's late and there's no sign of him.
That would be interesting.
Completely out of left field. Jenny and Alia are now a thing. Jalia. Or Jenya. No, Jalia. I think Jalia. The Christmas market thing is
Or Ali.
What you take just a Y from Jenny?
Okay,
I think Jenny's bringing a bit more to the relationship than just a Y. Jalia.
Jalia sounds like a disease.
Give it 5 minutes and it might be. So, the Christmas market thing I'm saying, that's taking shape. Sally, overly bothered about a chap who wants to sell mulled wine right next to the Rovers pop-up bar. Alia's search continues outside, but Sally, who's concerned about the mulled wine vendor at the Christmas market, and a furious Daisy are no help. And later Zeedan gets back to the food truck to find that the bag of money that he's put in there has disappeared.
And also Sally wants to brag about her new door.
Yeah.
To Alia.
It's eggshell blue.
Who would remember when it was supposed to be one shade of white?
Andalusia. Right.
Which also sounds like a disease. Glad she didn't go with that.
Zeedan rushes home when Ryan comes in with the money bag, demanding to know what's going on. Zeedan claims to have called the police, but his bluff is called when Ryan gets a call from Alia, and Zeedan begs that Ryan dings it. So Zeedan has to explain that he's been laundering money. Ryan points out that everyone could go to prison for this. Zeedan was just trying to get people out of trouble, not into it, and he begs Ryan to keep his mouth shut. Ryan points out that this is the dumbest plan ever. This has to be a pretty dumb plan for Ryan to say.
For Ryan to recognise that it's the dumbest plan ever, yes.
He was already on to Zeedan, so it's only a matter of time before Alia and Yasmin twig. And at that, in comes Alia, curious to know whose bag that is on the coffee table. Zeedan and Ryan both accept responsibility simultaneously for Zeedan's gym gear, and disgusted, Alia heads back to work. Next we see Hashim stalking out Ryan and Yasmin in his flash car, while Yasmin gives Ryan a hard time for missing that lunch date. So Ryan goes into speed dial to apologise to Alia, and he comes clean about Zeedan and his bag full of lovely cash. So Alia goes to the house to shout at Zeedan about it. She wants Hashim's number to hash this out, but Zeedan refuses to let her get involved. Alia's back at work now, and it's late when Hashim comes in looking for Zeedan. Alia wants to know how long the shite is going to go on for, or should she just call the police now? Hashim points out that Zeedan nicked his 50 grand. Zeedan comes in, and Hashim isn't impressed that the arrangement has been broadcast now. Just for that, there'll be a bit more laundry to do.
Ugh.
On Wednesday, Alia and Zeedan are surprised to find Yasmin working on her day off at speed dial.
Which is totally a Yasmin thing to do.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be surprised by it.
No. Then they're further surprised when Billy bounds in, thanking Yasmin for volunteering food to help out in the soup kitchen. Alia and Zeedan talk Yasmin into helping Billy physically hand the food out, just to get rid of her for the day so they can do their money laundering stuff.
Right, and so Yasmin can meet Stu.
Yep. So Homeless Stu is Yasmin's first customer. He's thrilled to see one of her curries on offer, and the two of them seem to have met each other before. This is interesting. He's sounding a bit better after a night's kip in the barber's. Now, Canadian Helen got in touch with us through the week to kind of preempt this storyline, saying that Homeless Stew needs a happy ending. Debbie needs a new chef since Danny went to London, and Homeless Stew was a chef in the Navy. This would be a perfect arrangement for them both.
Right.
And I kind of agreed with that.
Yeah.
And I thought either that or Speed Dial are kind of looking for Homeless Stew's.
Right, because they've lost their chef as well.
Right. What was his name?
Started with an H, didn't it?
He pretended he had shingles.
Yes. The shingles guy.
Yeah, the shingles guy. So I thought, well, this is great. This is how homeless Stu's getting rehabilitated, and maybe he's going to be hanging about.
Yay!
That's what I thought on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So yeah, homeless Stu is very complimentary of the curry and seems to be able to identify the ingredients. He mentions that he was a chef in the Navy. God, if he's mentioned that once. Yasmin invites him to Speed Dial for a tasting menu later.
Well, it's a soup. It's not a curry.
Back at Speed Dial, Alia is worried that they're not laundering money quickly enough. Ryan suggests taking the food van to the Christmas market, but then Alia gets a call from Tim's mum out of the blue. She wants to sell her share in Speed Dial. Tim's mum has given them first refusal.
Yeah, her share that she was gifted.
Yeah, I think the storyliners have realised that was a mistake.
Yeah.
She needs to sell up to pay for Faye's expensive lawyers.
Why will Faye need expensive lawyers when
Ray Weinstein has.
Ray Weinstein has... Ugh.
They can't afford to buy it on paper, and any other buyer will want to see their books, so Zeedan rushes off to see about that stall in the Christmas market, and he secures the pitch, but it's at Debbie's expense. That she had a verbal agreement, and they exchange some barbs with each other, although it kind of feels like there's a little bit of electricity between Zeedan and Debbie, I thought.
Oh, God, don't even.
Then Zeedan gets a photo of Hashim with Yasmin at the soup kitchen, which is a threat, and that leads us on to this week's Hard Debate. Zeedan and Alia and Ryan are obviously rubbish when it comes to laundering poor Hashim's money, but who should they bring into the scheme who could turn it around? Debbie, Adam, Emma, or anyone from EastEnders?
I chose anyone from EastEnders.
Which is what I've hoped that you would do. The voting was thus.
I know.
Emma, who does have history of being arrested for money laundering,
This is true.
4.2%. Adam, who I think would be pretty good at it,
Yeah.
10.4%. Anyone from EastEnders, 37.5%, but winning with a resounding 47.9%, it's Debbie. Your answer is right there, Zeedan.
She's
Speak
staring
to Debbie.
you in the face. She's got lots of hotels.
She's got lots of hotels. She's morally ambiguous enough to be interested if there was a cut for her.
Yeah.
And remember, there's slight money flow issues at the bistro and stuff.
Right.
That, this would maybe help tide over.
I think the only problem is that the bistro is also now partially owned by Nick and Leanne, who are not as morally ambiguous as Debbie.
Right, but it's still 8 hotels.
But still, yeah, hotels.
Now all of a sudden we're not talking about 50 grand going through one business's book. We're talking about 50 grand going through 8 or 9, potentially 10 businesses'
Right,
books.
yeah.
Much,
You
much
can do that
easier.
in a day.
Right. So the answer's right there.
Right.
On Friday, though, it's pig's tits already for Alia. The dishwasher has broken down at Speed Dial, so they're going to have to close the restaurant. Hashim makes a good point later on, where you can't just, wash the dishes yourself.
Well, remember, they're understaffed.
They're understaffed. Homeless stew right there. This means someone has to keep an eye on what Yasmin's up to all day to make sure that Hashim doesn't have his way with her or something. Homeless Stew drops into Speed Dial to see Yasmin, who announces a wee surprise. Why don't we give Homeless Stew a trial run? Zeedan is rude and dismissive. Stew takes offence and leaves, embarrassing Yasmin with his arrogance, with Zeedan's arrogance. Yasmin tracks Homeless Stew down to Nina's rolls. He's unhappy about Zeedan, but also about Yasmin for pulling that stunt without telling him. She's still keen to take him on and prove Zeedan wrong, and a stupid shit. She leaves him with keys to Speed Dial and some whites. Go make a fucking curry, she says.
Every time someone is given keys on the street, it ends badly.
Right. Poor Natasha. Later, Zeedan is loading up his van, but is surprised to see there is no van. Alia goes to call the police, but Zeedan tells her that she can't because Hashim's money's in it, as are Kate and Rana in their bras. Every time Zeedan opens up a van, I expect to see Kate and Rana snogging in their bras in the back, because it happened one time. For some reason, it stuck with me.
That would be pretty gruesome if it happened now.
Oof. Back at
'Cause
the
one
restaurant.
of them is dead.
Back at the restaurant, Hashim comes down and Zeedan accuses him of stealing the van with his money in it. Then you're fucked, pal, says Hashim, because I didn't steal anything. And now he wants all his money back today, or Alia and Yasmin will be floating with the fishes, see? Zeedan has no choice but to offer Hashim the restaurant.
Floating with the fishes?
Swimming with the fishes.
Thank you.
Or floating with the dead fishes. Hashim doesn't want speed dial though, and he tells him to burn it down and pay him off with insurance. He's so demanding.
Right.
He's so unrealistic in his demands, but he's so demanding.
And he expects respect right away.
At home,
Oh, he's such a bad character.
there's been no sign of the van. Zeedan tells Alia about the conversation with Hashim, and Alia is shocked, and Zeedan says he's not even considering burning the place down. Don't
No.
worry, he's going to think about something else. Then, despite meeting at Speed Dial earlier, Zeedan and Hashim meet in an alleyway for plot reasons, with Zeedan insisting that he will find the money. Too late, says Hashim. I've already made arrangements to torch the restaurant or Yasmin's house. Take your pick.
Right. Yikes.
Meanwhile, at Speed Dial, homeless Stu is done making food and then nips off to the toilets to get changed back into his homeless gear. And while he's gone, Zeedan comes down, turns everything off, and leaves the door open and unlocked for Hashim's sons to do their worst. And later, the smoke alarm goes off as homeless Stu comes out of the bathroom, and he quickly attempts to deal with the fire, but he's soon overpowered by the smoke and falls
He
to the floor.
attempts to deal with the fire by wetting down
A dishcloth.
a dishcloth when a restaurant is required to have a fire extinguisher, and surely he knows how to use a fire extinguisher.
You think this is his problem to solve? He could make it to the stairs quite easily and then get out of there, which is probably what he should have done.
Right, or used a fire extinguisher instead of taking the time, because this is probably an electrical fire or a grease fire. Water's not going to work on one of those. It will make it worse.
Yeah.
This is chef's training 101 and naval training 101, if I'm honest.
Outside at the Christmas market, Kathy, Brian and Billy notice the smoke coming out from Speed Dial. Brian is on crowd control while Kathy phones the fire brigade and Billy runs off to find Yasmin. At home, a furious Yasmin is about to head off to look for the van when a frantic Billy arrives to tell her about the fire. It's really bad, he says. Yasmin remembers that homeless Stu was cooking and may be inside, which you can just see the sickness appear on Alia's face. How could you be so stupid, she shouts to Zeedan.
After Yasmin has left.
Yeah. They rushed, yeah. Importantly, after Yasmin's left. They rushed to the restaurant, Brian breaking down the door, but being pushed back by the smoke. Homeless Stu, shouts Yasmin and Billy, and probably Ryan, and Zeedan rushes in to rescue. As the fire brigade arrives, Zeedan bursts out of Speed Dial with homeless Stu, who has a bit of soot in his cheeks. Hero of the hour, says Ryan, who worries that the dishwasher was to blame. Bernie blames homeless Stu. Yasmin and Billy go off to the hospital.
And everybody yells at Bernie for victim blaming.
Yeah.
Rightly.
Alia will never forgive Zeedan for this. And at home, Alia goes over what's at stake here. Homeless Stu might die and they've lost the business. Zeedan still hasn't washed his face and says everything will be fine if they stick to the same story, otherwise the insurance doesn't pay out and they're still on the hook for Hashim's money. Fine, says Alia, but I want you the fuck out of this house.
Yes.
So Alia and Zeedan join Yasmin at the hospital. It seems the fire was started by the deep fat fryer, and Zeedan quickly jumps to blame homeless Stu. Alia throws a look at him that if it could kill, it would have killed Zeedan.
Yes.
Yasmin chooses this moment to reveal how much having Zeedan back in her life has meant the world to her.
And also makes no sense because you can't make a curry in a deep fat fryer.
Pakora, maybe.
Yeah. But that's not what Yasmin told Stu to make.
Told him to make a menu.
Oh, that's true.
Guess this means that Zeedan is hanging around, but Alia's done with him, and if homeless Stu dies, she's grassing him the fuck up.
Yes.
And that is how we end this week's episodes. I went from being so happy for homeless Stu, because I
Yeah.
like homeless Stu,
Yeah, we want homeless Stu to stay around.
going from looking like he's maybe going to be getting a job, because this is a Yasmin thing to do, especially.
Right, absolutely.
It's maybe not a Debbie thing to do, but it's a Yasmin thing to do.
Yes.
People deserve chances,
Yes.
and Yasmin is definitely one of those sort of people who do that.
People want Yasmin and Stu to hook up now, and people seem to forget that Stu actually is not divorced
No.
from his wife.
Right. So this was going to give him a second chance.
Right.
And something that he desperately needed.
And keep him on the street.
You know, these chances fall into the laps of the likes of Sean and Kelly, and it doesn't for him. So it was nice that for an older homeless
Right.
person who wasn't really a character until a couple of months ago, it was nice for something positive to happen
Right.
to him. And then as soon as they mentioned setting fire at the place, you're like, well, I guess homeless Stu's getting killed in a fire then.
Right. Even even Nina's roles could have hired him, because Nina likes Stu already, and she needs, a man about the house to do the cooking of the jacket potatoes.
Right. Those baked beans aren't going to warm themselves.
No.
Right. The thing I kind of dislike about this, and it's been a week of really things that I've disliked.
You have one thing that you dislike about this.
Well,
Only one.
It all comes from Hashim's unmitigated reluctance to be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
He's
a bad guy. Bad guys are unreasonable.
He definitely wants Zeedan to fail. But I thought he wanted them to fail to get the business and to get speed dial, but
Yeah.
But he isn't.
He just wants him to fail because he screwed over his daughter.
Right. So there's no way that Zeedan's going to win this. And I don't know why. Well, it's always about characters making bad decisions and not telling people things, but this could have been resolved much earlier.
And also, the show writes these, organized crime bad guys very poorly. This is not the first time they've written a bad guy to be impatient and irresponsible and unreasonable, because we've also had Harvey and Rick the Chin, who are also disorganized and irrational, that's a word now, irrational and unreasonable.
See irrational for definition.
This is par for the course for organized crime on the street. Even Gay Mick was
pretty
irrational and unreasonable.
Oh, we're sticking with irrational?
I said irrational that time.
I don't think you did. We'll keep it in.
Yes,
We'll
but
keep
you
it.
mistake Amy for Faye, so...
Yeah, but I'm editing all that out.
Well, you can't now, can ya?
Well, no. It'll require more editing, but sure.
Yeah, so... and they write them that way so that there's this tension on the street for the characters on the street to do irrational and unreasonable things in order to appease these organized crime guys, like Gary killing Rick the Chin and Leanne selling drugs.
Yep.
It's just...
It's just when it happens more than once in a week, when you've got Ed forgetting that Glory is currently living with them.
Right. She's right upstairs. Call the police.
The whole bad decision bingo is kind of full house at the moment.
You think?
Well, that was a nice turn of phrase. But the one thing that I was enjoying in this story, or the potential of this story, amounted to precisely hee-haw, which was Ryan and Alia having a date.
Right.
And they never got it.
Right. Ryan and Alia getting back together, and then homeless Stu working for Speed Doll.
And this is what I really
getting a redemption story. These were the two things we liked. And the whole Zeedan and Hashim stuff is just mucking it up for everybody. And then just Yasmin once again having one of these monologues to her grandchildren about how much she loves them and
apropos of nothing, right?
how glad she is that Zeedan is back so that he can save homeless people from burning to death in fires he's responsible for.
Right.
I kind of hate it because, of course, Yasmin doesn't know about all of this stuff going on in the background, but it makes her seem really naive.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd gotten away from naive Yasmin.
And dependent.
Right. Yeah.
Because she name checks Tim's dad.
Right.
And saying, after all that, I feel like I'm finally getting over it now that everyone's round about me.
Yeah.
But
that's not how you get over things.
Yeah, it's kind of shifting one dependency to another. And,
right.
And really the true Yasmin is the one who gets on with her life, her own life, and is in control of those elements of it. So whether Alia's living with her, or Zeedan's living with her, or Kathy's living with her, or anything, it always feels better when she enhances her own life on her own terms, and that doesn't seem to be how she was going. But going back to the Alia and Ryan thing just for a second, one of the things that I liked about the fleeting aspect of that we got was really the longing that Alia and Ryan clearly have for each other.
Right.
It's really, really nice.
It is nice.
It is really
It's
nice.
nice.
Alia's so disappointed when he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And frantic.
Yeah.
But even before that, just the thought of it, there's something in their eyes that,
Yeah.
I know it's really hard to describe, but it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And that's the chemistry, right?
Right. Absolutely.
That's these two work together.
Right.
I love it.
Yes.
And it needs to happen again.
Yes. Absolutely.
Do we think Homeless Shoes on his last? Has he coughed his last?
I hope not. I hope that this helps. That this is the thing that helps solve his actual cough. Now that he's in the hospital, maybe
some
they'll
treatment
find
for it.
out what's wrong with,
Give
his
him a wee
lungs
bottle.
anyway.
Right.
People are speculating he has COVID. It would be nice if a character actually caught COVID at least once on the street, considering how nobody's wearing masks anymore.
I don't know, all that fresh air that Homeless Shoe gets means I think they'd kind of be less likely to get it, but
Who knows?
who knows. Well, that was the week that was Coronation Street.
Yes.
Like I said, B-sides a go-go. They can't all be good weeks.
No.
What was your moment of the week?
Kelly giving homeless Stu the present and thanking him, and actually showing concern for him. I like that they're continuing this relationship.
Yeah, that kind of... the sort of mentor
Right.
role that he had in her homeless situation was obviously very helpful.
He makes a better father than Imran, let's be honest.
Yeah, because he does come out with words of wisdom that nobody's asking for.
Right.
Like a good father does.
And then he does actually teach her life skills that are important for her to have,
Right.
even if she's not homeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good teeth as well.
Yeah. So homeless Stu and George are both our father figures now on the street now that Roy's gone.
Right. Yeah, Kelly's horse brass for homeless stew, which doesn't sound as...
It
good as
sounded
I
like
hoped
you
it
said
would.
horse bras, not horse brass.
I'm not saying that again. I don't get paid enough to do this. That's our
Moment of the week.
boring moment of the week.
Sean reciting different looks from the Oscars.
Do you know, I'd completely forgotten about that. I don't think I wrote
I
any-
hadn't.
I don't think I wrote anything of it down. If so, I don't remember reading it out.
You didn't.
So what was it? He said what?
He's just he's because he's working on Emma's dress and
Yeah.
he's like, I'm thinking blah 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 and blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah. He's just like name checking different actresses and different fashion designers and Beth says, all right, okay, we get it. You know a lot about the Oscars.
Well done, Beth. Are you sure that's not our moment of the week? Sean knowing Oscars stuff. That's our...
Specifically fashion from the Oscars. Because he's like,
it's not his mastermind subject of who,
No,
won, who
he's-
won Best Picture in
he's
1973.
he's not a cinephile.
No.
No, he's being stereotypically homosexual.
Yes. Shall we wrap this one up then?
Yes, please.
If you've ever packed your man bag in your boxers, put some trousers on for God's sake and then tell us all about it. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
I'll talk of the street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.